China just demonstrated drone swarms that wiped out defensive targets in 5.3 seconds using AI trained to think like predatory animals. One soldier controlled 200 drones with a tablet, and they continued their mission even after losing signal. The Wall Street Journal just confirmed what military analysts feared. China isn't just ahead in drone swarms. They're operating on a completely different level that changes warfare forever. Before we break this down, honest question. If AI drones can hunt in packs like wolves and make split-second decisions faster than humans can react, are we already too late to stop this technology from changing warfare permanently? Drop your thoughts below because this isn't theoretical anymore. It's operational. In the last 72 hours, multiple reports have confirmed something that should terrify anyone paying attention to military technology. China has cracked the code on autonomous drone swarms that don't just fly together. They hunt together using artificial intelligence trained on predatory animal behavior. Let's start with the most shocking development. Researchers at Beihang University in Beijing just published findings from a trial they call Hawks versus Doves. They programmed 5 AI-controlled Hawk drones to attack 5 AI-controlled Dove drones that were programmed for maximum evasion and defense. The result? The Hawks achieved total elimination of all 5 Doves in exactly 5.3 seconds. Not minutes, not even a full 10 seconds. 5.3 seconds from engagement to complete victory. That's faster than a human can process what's happening, let alone respond to it. Here's why that matters. This isn't about drones flying in formation or following pre-programmed routes. This is artificial intelligence making real-time tactical decisions about which target to attack, from which angle, and coordinating with other drones to overwhelm defenses before they can react. The Hawks identified the most vulnerable target in the defensive formation and attacked it simultaneously from multiple angles. While that drone was being destroyed, other Hawks were already repositioning to attack the next target, using the chaos from the first kill to their advantage. It's pack hunting behavior, except it's happening at machine speed. Think about what that means in actual combat. Current military doctrine assumes humans have time to assess threats, coordinate responses, and execute defensive maneuvers. But if the attack happens in 5 seconds, none of that matters. By the time a human realizes they're under attack, it's already over. But it gets worse. On January 23rd, Chinese state broadcaster CCTV released footage showing a single soldier controlling a swarm of 200 fixed-wing drones using nothing but a tablet. 200 autonomous aircraft being coordinated by one person. That's not science fiction. That's documented reality that aired on television 3 days ago. The soldier in the footage isn't manually piloting these drones. He's not controlling each one individually. Instead, he assigns an objective, something like clear this 2-kilometer urban area, and the swarm autonomously decides how to accomplish that mission. Some drones handle reconnaissance, others jam enemy communications, others execute strikes. The swarm divides tasks among itself without human input. That's not remote control, that's artificial intelligence making tactical decisions in real time. And here's the part that should really keep military planners awake at night. The system has what China calls an autonomous anti-jamming algorithm. That's a fancy way of saying if you cut the connection between the operator and the drones, they don't fall out of the sky or return to base. They continue the mission using internal peer-to-peer communication. You can't just jam their signal and neutralize the threat. The swarm operates as a decentralized hive mind that keeps functioning even when you sever its connection to human control. That's a fundamentally different paradigm from anything Western militaries are currently prepared to counter. Now let's talk about how far behind the United States is in this technology, because the gap is embarrassing. The US has something called the Replicator Initiative, recently rebranded as the Defense Autonomous Warfare Group, or DWG, depending on which report you read, that was supposed to deliver operational drone swarms by August 2025. They missed that deadline. Badly. The program is behind schedule due to software bugs, integration problems, and costs that are spiraling out of control. While China is demonstrating 200 drone swarms controlled by one soldier, the US is still trying to get basic coordination working reliably. The cost differential is also stunning. Chinese military drones like the Swarm I model reportedly cost under $2,000 per unit. The US equivalent, something like the Switchblade 600, costs over $100,000 per unit. That's a 50-to-1 cost advantage. What that means in practical terms, China can afford to lose 50 drones for every one the US loses and still come out ahead financially. They can overwhelm defenses through sheer numbers because their drones are cheap enough to be expendable. The patent gap tells the same story. Since 2022, China has filed over 930 patents related to swarm intelligence and autonomous coordination. The United States, roughly 60. That's not a gap, that's a chasm. China is innovating 15 times faster than the US in this specific technology domain. So how did this happen? How did the country that invented the internet and dominates global tech companies fall so far behind in military AI? Part of it is bureaucracy. The U.S. military procurement process is slow, risk-averse, and terrible at adapting to rapidly evolving technology. Part of it is cost obsession. The U.S. military loves expensive, exquisite systems that do everything perfectly. China is building cheap, good enough systems that can be deployed in massive numbers. Different philosophies, but China's approach is proving more effective for drone swarms, and part of it is simply focus. China identified drone swarms as a critical technology years ago and poured resources into developing it. The US got distracted by other priorities and is now playing catch-up in an area where being second means being obsolete. But there might be a defensive countermeasure emerging, and interestingly, it's not coming from the United States. On January 22nd, India's Defense Research and Development Organization unveiled a prototype high-power microwave weapon specifically designed to counter drone swarms. Here's how it works. Instead of firing bullets or missiles at individual drones, the HPM weapon fires a massive pulse of electromagnetic energy, 450 megawatts in the S-band frequency range, that fries the electronics of any drone within range. It's essentially a microwave oven that cooks the drone circuits instantly from up to 1 kilometer away. The advantage is obvious. You don't need to target individual drones. You just point the weapon at the swarm and activate it, and everything electronic in that area gets destroyed. One shot potentially neutralizes dozens of drones simultaneously, but there are significant limitations. 1 kilometer range sounds good until you remember these drone swarms can approach from multiple directions simultaneously. Can you rotate the HPM weapon fast enough to engage threats coming from different vectors? Probably not. And if the swarm has 200 drones and you can only engage a portion of them at once, the others will get through while you're focused elsewhere. The math doesn't work in favor of the defender when the attacker can afford to lose 50 drones and still accomplish their mission. There's also the power requirement. Generating 450 megawatts of microwave energy isn't something you can do with a battery pack. These systems need massive power supplies, which makes them stationary and vulnerable. You can't put one on every ship or vehicle that might need protection. So while the HPM weapon is an interesting countermeasure, it's not a complete solution to the swarm problem. It's one tool among many that will be needed, and it has significant limitations that attackers will learn to exploit. Let's talk about what this means for the future of warfare, because we're witnessing a fundamental shift in how conflicts will be fought. For decades, military power was measured in tanks, aircraft carriers, and fighter jets. Those are all insanely expensive assets that take years to build and are crewed by highly trained personnel. Drone swarms flip that equation completely. They're cheap, expendable, and don't require pilots. You can build thousands of them for the cost of a single F-35 fighter jet. And if current trends continue, they'll be more effective in many scenarios than traditional manned systems. The psychological impact is also significant. Imagine being a soldier and knowing that at any moment, a swarm of 200 autonomous drones could appear and attack with no warning. You can't negotiate with them. You can't intimidate them. They don't get tired or scared. They just execute their programming with machine efficiency. That changes the calculus of conflict in ways we're only beginning to understand. It lowers the barrier to entry for military action because drones are cheaper and don't result in your own casualties. It makes defensive operations incredibly difficult because you're defending against threats that operate faster than human reaction time, and it raises terrifying questions about escalation and control. If these swarms are truly autonomous, making decisions without human input, what happens when one makes a mistake? What happens when the AI decides something is a threat that actually isn't? We're building weapon systems that can kill without human oversight, and that should concern everyone, regardless of which country is building them. The biological inspiration behind these systems is also worth examining. Training AI using predatory animal behavior isn't new conceptually, but applying it to military drones at this scale is unprecedented. Wolves hunt in packs using coordinated tactics developed over millennia of evolution. Hawks identify and exploit weakness in prey animals with incredible precision. By studying these behaviors and translating them into algorithms, Chinese researchers have created systems that leverage millions of years of evolutionary optimization. That's actually brilliant from an engineering standpoint, even if the applications are terrifying. It also means these systems will keep getting better. As the AI trains on more scenarios and learns from more engagements, it will develop increasingly sophisticated tactics. Machine learning means these drones will literally teach themselves to be more effective killers through experience. The countermeasures will also improve, obviously, but there's an asymmetry here that favors the attacker. It's easier to build and deploy cheap offensive drones than it is to defend against them. Defense requires covering every possible attack vector all the time. Offense only needs to find one opening. That asymmetry is why military analysts are so concerned about this technology. It's not just that China is ahead, it's that the fundamental nature of drone swarms favors attackers over defenders, and China is the one developing them most aggressively. Looking at the bigger picture, this is part of a broader trend where AI is fundamentally changing military technology faster than doctrine and strategy can adapt. We're building capabilities that we don't fully understand the implications of, and we're doing it in a competitive environment where being second means being vulnerable. The US response so far has been inadequate. Recognizing there's a problem is different from actually solving it. The Replicator program missing its deadlines is a symptom of deeper issues with how the US military develops and integrates new technology. China's approach, rapid iteration, acceptance of imperfection, massive scale deployment, is proving more effective than the US approach of pursuing perfection at enormous cost. That's a strategic problem that won't be solved with a single program or initiative. China just demonstrated AI drone swarms that hunt like predators and operate faster than humans can react, while the US struggles to get basic systems working. This isn't a capability gap. It's a paradigm shift in warfare that nobody's ready for. If you want more analysis on technology that's actually changing the world, hit that like button and subscribe for breakdowns that connect the real implications.